Hello. Another fabulous Monday. The beginning for some people that they look at of a week. That's a broken mind trap, by the way. Every new breath is a brand new breath. You're brand new every moment. You have your new inhale. So this is Sit in It with me, Tracy A. Martin. And I also have Dreamer Divine, part of my beautiful team. She's an accountability coach at Opening Doors Productions. She is an amazing guide that loves and supports people through any of the beautiful programs that we have running right now. She's going to be asking some questions. And we're going to have her interactive a bit more today as well as we warm you up into this podcast. So many of you are sending in your questions. I thank you very much. Some of you are using anonymity, but give us a handle to you so that you know that we're answering your question for you. And there's no wrong question. There's no stupid question. If it's coming from you, there's resolve that you're looking for. So I thank you, because one of the biggest broken mind traps that so many people become very hung up in is asking for help, believing they have to do it all by themselves and that it's all alone. Because in the indoctrination systems, how many of you, when you were sitting in class as a child, that went to ask a question and you had an awful teacher that told you it was stupid? And it was more likely because they didn't know how to answer it. Because the ego loves to know everything. And when they're questioned by something that may question their own, then they have the most ridiculous answers that they give you, or they're sick of the same question being asked and have forgotten about you, the student. As a teacher, you're there to help in any way possible to get that knowledge to sink in somehow. I have a beautiful lady that had just finished one of our 8-week courses, and within her broken mind traps, she was taught by all the teachers around her that she had a learning disability. Instead of us helping her break through that, and by her actually seeing it, realizing she learns in a certain particular way, that was a massive breakthrough for her. Because all of us learn completely differently. There should be no such thing as the school systems that they have. Number one, a boy brain and a girl brain do not function the same way on many, many levels. And it's from years of conditioning, and because of the beautiful goddess energy and the God energy within you. That masculine King of Kings divine energy is completely different than the goddess Queen of Queens energy. And so once she was able to let go or break through or surrender that old broken mind trap to believe she had a learning disability, but instead to realize that she was an individual that was an original and her way of learning is allowed, then she was able to really, really get into this course. And it made me so very happy. And that's one of the reasons that I'm bringing it up today, is because many of you learn differently. You are all on different levels of awakening. And that's what these questions are very around today from what I've seen. And it has a lot to do with awakening and on what levels. Well, when you're awakening, there's many different levels. So there's the physical awakening, mental awakening, emotional awakening, and spiritual awakening. And those 4 bodies are all one and are supposed to be incorporated together. And that's why you will always be awakening. The ego will always, always be in your way if you believe you are awake. Nobody is awake. None of us are. We're still existing in a 3D avatar and have no idea. We've been kept in this veil of illusion from who we really are on the highest levels and degrees of who we really are. So the more that you open your mind and realize how vast, you really realize you know nothing. And so part of the awakening is continuing to go in and up in deeper and deeper in on whatever level that is. And you're going to plateau, and then you're going to go deeper in, and then you're going to plateau, and you're going to take what you want and you're going to leave the rest behind, because you are by design here on purpose. So I want you to know that if you're not understanding something, reach out. If I say something to you today that you'd like to know more about, it might be planting a seed in you today to take you deeper, or it might put you into a cognitive dissonance because it challenges all of the indoctrination that you have been taught for so many years. And there is no wrong answer. There is no right answer. It just feels right for you in that moment. But it's what we sit you in to help you contemplate so that you can use objectivity, tangibility, your feeling center, that higher knowledge, only when you bring it through your heart, only through feeling it, of how it feels to you, is what will access that higher mind, instead of the P brain or the P mind, which is the egoic part of the mind that always loves to be in control because it's been indoctrinated for so long to be right, not for the truth, but to be right, because it doesn't like to change. And that's why so many people have the biggest issues with control, which I will laugh with you always, because there is zero control. You can make choices, but you cannot control what happens or what the outcomes are with those choices. So Dreamer Divine, welcome. It's a beautiful day. How are you today?
Good day. I am doing well. Thank you. I just want to say hello to everybody that is joining us today. Thank you very much.
And so, beings were talking about awakening. What I would really like first, because I know that within your awakening, it felt very hard. Your heart hurt a lot. And what was the catalyst or several catalysts that took you by design to get you to awaken, to start on really deciding to get into your journey, Dreamer Divine?
Um, it actually all started about 6 years ago now, and it had to be something that was devastating for me to happen. It was the loss of my mom that took me to a very dark place, and I had to make a decision and choose to not go down too deep because I had two little children who needed me as a mom. And that was what made me slowly awaken. I have a son who is very intuitive and in touch, and he was able to give me messages from my mom who passed. And that right there just stirred and awakened something in my soul to know that it was okay. And eventually it had to come to a point where I got to move forward, and moving forward was a day-to-day thing. And eventually, it came to the point where I pulled myself out of that dark place and realized that that's not what my mom would have wanted for me. I needed to move forward. And the more I moved forward, the more I learned about myself, and the more I learned that I don't need necessarily to rely on a lot of outside influences, that I need to just listen to me and have strength and power in me and my own soul. And so that was the beginning of my awakening journey. And then I started taking courses from Opening Doors Productions and got to go deeper and deeper in, and delved into finding myself some more and more and more. And then from there, took the 8-week course, and and then it just went from there. And it's a beautiful feeling, and it's a beautiful thing. It can be uncomfortable at times, but it's so worth it, because you get to find out more about yourself and learn about yourself and how much you have to offer yourself and how amazing that you are.
And I want to thank you so much because, I've known you for a long time, and you knew within you, in the core of who you are, you knew that service to others, um, in that space, was where it brings you so much joy. And I think one of the greatest things, I don't know if you remember the conversation you ever had with me, but that was one of the reasons actually why I knew that you'd be an amazing fit here at Opening Doors Productions, because you knew that you knew you had to put on this persona like you didn't give a fuck. And all that was protecting your heart from being hurt. And the moment that you knew you didn't have to protect anything but surrender and be vulnerable was the moment that I knew you were there. And that was what brought me so much joy, was knowing that you were allowed to be gentle, you were allowed to be kind, you're allowed to be passionate, you're allowed to be all these things, and but not having to control it anymore, because of knowing that you released that idea of all these hats you believed you had to wear for others, that accountability to yourself that you didn't even know, because you hid so many levels of her because you believed you had to be a mom first, and you had to be a wife first, and you had to be a this and a that, instead of no, you had to be you first. And so that was one of the things that I commend you so much on. And knowing in that one course what was your breakthrough in that moment when you realized that was why your mom left by design when she did, to awaken, for you to have the chance to awaken. And that's why so many people are urging us on and helping us so much from the all that is on the other side of what you see as a veil, and how you could feel it. And now you actually feel her more because you've become so in touch with who you are spiritually, physically, mentally, emotionally, that you are even more in depth in your intuitive process, because that is who we are. So everyone has an awakening process that happens, as you can hear from Dreamer Divine talking about what catalyst did it take. And some of us have to be at our lowest of the lows before we realize there's nowhere up but here. Some of you are a little more in tuned at different times in their lives. Some of us have catalysts, some of us don't. Some of us just have that as a process because that was by design, our divinity that came in at a certain process. Some of you aren't ever going to, because you're still here in this third density form, in all the octave that's playing out, that is quite fresh and quite new of an avatar in the third density, which is the earth experience, or many, many that you'll find. As Love Consciousness has told us, there are over 33,000 different earth-like or 3D-like systems to play our third density out on. And so before we go any deeper down the rabbit hole, I want to just get into today talking about the first question that is being set up, so that we can get those going and get some clarity for the person who's brought the question in. Dreamer Divine, take it away.
Okay, so our first question is from Jody. Says, "Hi Tracy, How do we calm ourselves down and separate ourselves with everything that's going on lately? On a spiritual level, seeing unity and the coming together of people is so unbelievably amazing, yet the 4D and 3D aspects of it all can be hard to not notice or even get sucked into. I know it's been a long process and we still have a ways to go, and that this is all happening by design and on purpose. But how do we find more patience when it starts to wear thin or when our hopes get crushed again? I'm trying to be love and light, but find it hard lately and know it's not serving myself or the collective in feeling this way. I know I'm allowed to be human and feel this all. I think I'm just hoping for a validation of the light right now.
Hello, beautiful Jody. Jody has been a client at Opening Doors here. I thank you so much for your question. Many of you are feeling frustrated, overwhelmed, mad, uneasy. Those are old 3D devices kept so that they can feed off of you all that loose energy that they love, those lower frequencies. And you, by design, have naturally been taught and naturally emotionally been captivated in fear. Fear is not real. Fear is a resonance that has been basically portrayed around this beautiful orb that we are on by the dark ones. Some of you are going to have new words that you're going to be hearing today about very dark forces, energies, if you will, that have been absolutely in the greatest place of influx, that have had control or their idea of control or manipulation over our plane of existence here on Earth. And many of these dark energies love to feast off of your negative thoughts that are being projected continually onto the consciousness of many. That's why it hits you sideways so much. And you can be in the greatest of moods and in seconds feel like you're blindsided. And because it's naturally been a choice for you, because you've allowed to run it by default, it's very quick for you to turn back to those illusions that are really what's going on, of manipulation, deceit, lies, hatred, upset, unworthiness, poverty, lack, enslavement, because this is the mentality that you guys have been completely restricted in a subconscious plane, basically because of repetition through all of the media systems that are continually telling you the same thing over and over again. The subconscious mind runs 98% of everything as a program, as you are being programmed continually. Animals, mammals, humans naturally have been programmed to be creatures of habit. It is an instinct within the reptilian part of the brain that is a natural instinct of survival. And they have programmed you to continually be in survival. So instead, when you are in survival mode, instead of being able to break through through the heart to that emotional sentience or that intelligence, the feeling center, being able to discern through the heart, which pulls you out of the reptilian survival part of the brain of reaction into observing, to then have a response. We know that naturally, the moment you are reacting, that is you reacting. That is a response because you have chosen to not feel and direct it, but you are reacting to it. You're triggered by it. So when you speak, Jody, about 3D and 4D, I think the easiest way that I can describe it to you is, and this is what's so great about love consciousness, how they know we simply are. We are the simplest and most brilliant form ever. We are master creators. And our consciousness is what is the magic here. And these dark ones know that through manipulation techniques that they can portray many things onto the consciousness, and the moment you decide to believe it or allow it or give acceptance to it, it gets to play out because of this supposed free will zone, which has never been free will. It has been mind controlled for so long and used with deception and deceit. And so the easiest, simplest way, Jody, for you to get back into all that you are is you are either love or you are pretending. So the next thing I'm going to say to you, you are either creating or you are consuming. When we are in creator mode, we are living. When we are consuming, we are existing. That is it. Either way, you are either a lifeline and you are living and breathing life continually into yourself through creation, where you feel joy, expression, experience, or you are consumed, or you are consuming, and that is where the existence starts to leave. When they say your body became consumed, when we are dying, every cell in our body knows when it is creating, the light is bright. When you can see in the energetic field of someone in creation mode that it is this bright light and it emanates just amazing. And when you are consumed, you look like a zombie. You literally do. And now each cell within your body holds less light. And that's where the aging process happens. And that's where the body starts to become consumed. It only knows to listen to what it's being told. It works off of vibration and frequency. Your feeling, thinking is what creates that part of your reality. So all of the illusions, many of you that are awakening to whatever degree you are, this has been the greatest psychological warfare operation that I've probably ever and never ever want to ever go through ever again, by the way. Some of you are still in it and have your blinders on and are the monkey not wanting to know because you just want it to be over with, and you're willing to comply to whatever ever you want, thinking that it's just going to be la 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 and it's going to go away. And that is completely exactly where you're allowed to be. Many of you have watched how a lot of things have proven itself to you, that you have been manipulated, coerced, you have been bullied, you have been not been honored forever, and you're mad and you're frustrated. And I'm here to tell you, great, because that's the first part of the awakening, is to realize that you've been played. That on some level, something doesn't work out, something's not making sense, because lies never make sense. And from the perspective of where I am, I laugh a lot because what's playing out is so ridiculous and disgusting that it's, if you can't see that as being so ridiculous, then that's exactly where you need to be. But many of you know what's going on, and the moment you're being baited and it triggers you, you're slipping back in and playing and dipping that toe back into the 3D experience of the lies, the deceit, the deception. And so it's really easy to catch yourself, Jody, the moment that you realize that they're trying to bait you is because they're trying to get your vibration and frequency, your thought process and emotion so it can help feed the consciousness. I'm going to use that, and I'm going to say this to you, and there's a lot of people that may be watching this, and you love so many people that you listen to that are part of the truth community, all of that. But I'm here to tell you how the subconscious works and how super consciousness works is in the same thing being repeated over and over and over again. So you have what we will call the fake media, all the lies, the deceit, deceptions that they have been doing for a very, very long time in order to program you to exactly what they want you to think, feel, and be, to create that consciousness, because that helps create a reality. Then we have the supposed alternative media that's supposed to be truth media, and yet in your heart, there's many of you that are pulling away from all of it. Why are you pulling away from it? Because you're being baited on both ways. Someone is continually setting you up for failure, giving you a bunch of dates that never ever work out, because they never will, because no one can tell you a date and a time that anything's ever going to happen. Do you know why? Because you are continually creating in this now moment, right here and right here now. You're not creating a future event unless something is designed to bait you to get there. Dates, times, whatever. We know that there is Project Looking Glass. We know that when we've had sessions with Love Consciousness, who are a consciousness that channel through, they have told us many times that there was over 13,000 different timelines that they looked at. They went even deeper, and no matter what, love wins. Do you know why love always wins? Because love is. Everything else is the illusion. Love is the omnimost everything, because that is what we are. And all the frequencies of love have like a radio dial, higher and lower frequencies, but it is all love. It is all designed through love. And so no matter what, love always wins. We know that in the third density, everything that has already happened in the other ethereal realms, everything then slowly comes into the process of the 3D plane, because it is a low existence, a Hertzian level. That is why the Schumann resonance is resonated by Hertz. And it's because it's our lowest, densest plane of existence compared to all the other dimensions or densities. And so, no different than when you come in to have hypnosis done, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, it happened. And then it will physically present itself last into that plane of existence. That's why no matter if you do visualization or hypnosis, meditation, or if you are actually doing it in the physical, there is no difference. The mind knows no different. It already feels and sees that it has happened. And that's why it works so well. And so when you have someone baiting you to set you up, to keep you on hold of believing you are always waiting and waiting and waiting, what are you throwing out into the consciousness? Waiting, which is all baiting. So the moment you start centering back into you, Jody, always, because it's always you in your own way, always, what will you allow that is nutritional? What will you allow that is poison? You are either love, accepting, being, acting in it, or you're pretending. There's no wrong. It's just the experience here. But the lie that you hold yourself in is what you need to be sitting in. Many people are the ones that are awake, and you're the only ones in your families are, or very little of you that are, because you are living in your heart center. It is always, your heart cannot be brainwashed. That is the wonderful thing about who you are. The essence of who you really are is love. And it cannot be brainwashed. But your P mind, 100% can be manipulated, brainwashed all the time because it was created by design through all of the indoctrination, the years and years and generations of programming that genetically became a part of your real natural attributes. You know, different than when you heard about through the first forms of slavery where they started mating certain people together because they wanted them to breed, no different than you see people do with animal life, where they breed, you know, some of the greatest stallions of horses so that they can start breeding to create this perfect force or, you know, human or dog or cat or whatever they're doing. And genetically, it starts to become part of the DNA process by design. And this is what's been happening for a very, very long time with you. So to be gentle and easy with yourself, Jody, is one of the greatest things to always, always get you back into, because love is the only thing that will change anything. It is acceptance and surrender, allowance and surrender, having that gentleness, listening, feeling what's going on. So when you think of the electron, the perfect spinning electron, which was created from infinite intelligence or one infinite creator, the electron spins clockwise. I've got to say this to you, and on yours is the opposite of me. And all that happened here on this plane of existence here is an artificial intelligence, and it was the spinning of the electron going the opposite way. And we see that today, even as science has realized that a cancer cell actually is spinning counterclockwise because it knows, number one, that it's infinite. And you, as the leader of your body, forgot because you've been kept asleep for a very, very long time. But that cell started to go up against you, saying, I'm rebelling. I don't want to die. So therefore, I will consume you. And those spinning cells that start from the electron spinning the opposite way because it's been infected, it is going completely the opposite way of what you would think the frequency of light scale is. Everything is light. There is no dark. There is just less of it. But in order for there to be a creation, it had to have started from one infinite creator. Everything is created from source. But it was distorted, or what we will say distorted light, which was a false illusion. And that is what has happened on this plane for hundreds of thousands of years. And that is where we're going in this awakening stage of why they're calling it the Great Awakening right now, into awakening for us to decide at this time in our divinity of what we want and what we no longer want. And that's why some of you are going to still remain in the third density process, because that is where you want to be in. And some of us have worn those t-shirts a really long time. We don't even want the t-shirt anymore. We're done with all of it. We want to move into the fourth density, which is fifth dimension and higher. And in your heart, you know it, you feel it. It's getting back continually to the center of the observer, the witness of who you are, Jody. And that is getting back to, who are you? What would love do? And one of the greatest things, the moment that you start observing and just really looking over everything as an observation without an attachment to it, just observing it, you really see very quickly the tangibility of what you're seeing, feeling, and is going on. Does this feel like truth to you? Does this make sense? Lies will never make sense again. Truth does not have a problem being asked. Truth loves to be full, real, and whole. Lies do not want to be discovered. They want to give you just enough truth to bait you, and then they twist it and distort it and use deception so that they know your feeling center feels like there's some truth in that. And then it becomes combobulated and confusing and full of chaos. They do this on purpose by design because that is how they can get you into their little honeypot, into their little trap, because there's just enough truth to bait you in. And then they confuse you so incredibly because it doesn't make sense. And most people say, I don't want to know anymore. Just tell me what to do. And this is what's been happening in society. The easiest way, and I'll use this again, Jody, is if you had a breakdown, emotional, mental, physical breakdown, and unfortunately, the medical systems that they have do not have the degree of real help that we need. They have minimal help only from the 100 years of indoctrination that they've done to actually keep people in more of a state of mental issues, because they love making money off of everything they want to prescribe you instead of getting you back into you to the wholeness of who you are. But let's say you're in a safe space, you've had a breakdown, and you have a caregiver that is coming to you. And the caregiver knows who or what helped bring that breakdown to you. Do you think that your caregiver would allow anyone or anything that caused that breakdown for you to enter into your room at all? No. So it's no different than television or the media or the radio or your social medias or whatever it is that you're listening to, or even a friend or family member, whoever you decided you gave a title to, that is spewing toxicity or something that does not feel good in your heart. Would you allow it any longer? No. Would you allow something toxic to be in your daughter's life? No. So why then do you allow yourself to choose to be baited by it? We know that one of the greatest movies you could watch is Wag the Dog, because this has been happening over and over and over and over and over again on purpose. And this is why they set people up to try to create some form of fear, to make you believe you need somebody beyond you. And they're the ones that are creating problems to offer solutions only of what you believe you need. And this is how they've been feeding you for a very, very long time. Many of you who are awake, that are very awakening and know that everything that comes out of the media's mouth are lies, because they are paid to be there, because of the 6 different platforms that are owned by the same bird that are telling the exact same things to happen over and over and over and again, because they're programming you continually. And that's why so many people were actually severely addicted to having to be home by 10 o'clock to watch CNN. Do you know why? So your mind, it used to be 6 seconds. We had 6 seconds to be able to sell somebody something before they get bored and move on. But because of the speed of the amount of stuff coming in and an influx too, especially if you've been on social media, within 2 seconds, you are that fast bored. That is why you see such hypersensitive children now, because everything is so fast paced now that they have to be able to catch it or they're missing it. And that's why you can't seem to find a lot of children who have a long enough attention span, because there's way too much distraction going on. So Jody, get back to the center of you. Shut off whatever it is that doesn't feel good. Begin again. Take your breath in. It's a brand new experience. I was feeling frustrated. I pull myself out. I'm going to go to the bathroom, which is one of the greatest inventions that we have created. They say is the bathroom or the toilet room, because most people do not bother you there, except for children and animals. But you can sit there and get back into your breath and observe what you were reacting to or triggered by. Center yourself again. That's what emotional intelligence is all about, is being able to, why am I choosing to feel this right now? Why am I triggered by this person or these words that are being said? What am I choosing to do to get back to love? Because my frequency is the most important. My happiness, period, is the most important. So it's all in you, Jody. You are always, always in your way. So get back to observing, why is Jody Avatar choosing to get caught up in a bunch of bullshit? It's plain and simple that easy. So get back to love. Stop pretending. What lies am I telling myself so that I don't have to stand or sit in it? How about I just sit in it? And let's just get back to love. What is love to you, Jody? Is it being at peace with yourself? Is it being kind to yourself, not bullying or beating yourself up? Is it letting go of judgment? Stop taking things personally. Let go of the expectation. So I hope that these have helped a lot, Jody. Dreamer Divine, would you like to weigh in on this at all?
I just like to say that, you know, to Jody, that everything brings you to a certain point for certain reasons, and they're all experiences. And knowing the beautiful starseed light beings that we all are, we can always, always go back to a place of love no matter what. And that is one of the most beautiful things, is recentering and always just coming back to love. And I think that's pretty amazing.
Thank you, Dreamer Divine. And it is. And we begin again. With every new breath, you can begin again. You can be having the crappiest day in your life. And this is everybody in this audience. And you know that the moment you center yourself back to what we'll call 0 point, which is back to the stillness before another set of reaction or the next segment or the next breath, just before we breathe in again and just before we abate to the breath out, there's a still point. And that is the brand new, and that's the magic. That is the conception point. So you're rolling the bowl forward and you choose to take a breath in as you finally catch yourself, and you get to begin again. It's not going to help by being mad at yourself. It's allowing yourself to be gentle with yourself and just begin again. No different than you do with your children or your animals when they're, training to not wet the bed, or they're not to pee in the house, or the whatever. And you bet it can be frustrating, but you are allowed to have every experience. And again, emotions are not yours for sale. You cannot buy them. You can't own them. But you've been storing them in a lot of places for a long time. And again, you are continually lying to yourself by saying, my anger, my this, my that. You don't get to own it. You're just choosing to be something. And why do you want to be something you don't want? Again, my cancer, my anxiety, which is a big lie. There's no such thing as anxiety. You don't feel anxiety. You feel what? You feel overwhelmed. You feel nervous. You feel scared. That is not anxiety. That is feeling overwhelmed in that moment. The only solution that can come through is when you quit giving it titles and actually accept the feeling where you're in that moment. You sit in it. That is your emotional intelligence. You see, the community that loves to give you something wrong with you. They love to create some form of diagnosis for you. And the moment you buy into it from another human being that has some form of authoritarian process over you, that is playing God over you instead of you being God in you, you decide that you own it. And the moment you own it, the subconscious mind records it as being truth. So Let go of all those false belief and broken mind traps. Right now, this whole society is all about giving you something wrong with you. They want to keep you as a victim and keep you broken because that is how they can manipulate the masses. When you are a sovereign, beautiful being, which you are by natural design, it is only your mind that believes it's broken, by the way. The spiritual essence of all that you are knows it is whole, perfect, and complete. It has always been and always will be perfect. It is the broken mind that they have tried to trap and enslave you in. And when you understand that you are these magnificent beings of light, and that the dark energies, like you call them, that have had control of these masses with this false veil of illusion, which has kept you in this low, like bobbing your head underwater continually in this place of resistance that doesn't feel good. When you naturally bob up on top and you are naturally breathing and naturally who you are, nothing can have a hold on you. Now, in this false illusion that's going on, this matrix by design is there to keep you captivated continually in the sabotage, the victimhood, the blame game, the judgment, the taking everything personally. It's disgusting. And the moment you choose to start sitting in it and breaking through it, you get your power that has never not been there. It has always been there. You see, many people believe that they are powerless, and it's only a state of your broken mind. Because within your heart of hearts, within every breath that breathes out of you, you are a light. You are on fire. But it has been as if it's a hiddenness from you, and that's all inside of you. So what would you like to say, Dreamer Divine, on the next question that has been brought in?
So the next question is from Awakening in Confusion. I thank you very much for submitting this and feeling comfortable enough to put it out here. Hi, Tracy. I'm awakening slowly, I believe, and have a really hard time digesting the many lies now that I am seeing them continually play out. Has it always been this way, but I have been using rose-colored glasses? If that's true, why does it hurt so much now? Thank you for any clarity.
That's a very great question, because I think there's a lot of you going through this absolutely right now, like we've been saying in this beautiful episode today. And many people who have just been fed and been led and just played along with this whole program of what we've been programmed into haven't seen it as being so bad. It was normal. This awful word that so many people try to tell you what normal is when there's no such thing. And it is only now, which is why it's called part of the Great Awakening, that once you do, as there's no difference than what they talk about in the Matrix series, because we know in a free will zone, they have to tell you what they are doing, but they use deceit, deception, lies, and manipulation to get you to buy into what they want you to be and what you want. And they usually use what's called fear tactics to put you into a place of fight, flight, or freeze, to be able to help manipulate the majority of consciousness. So this great awakening that's happening worldwide is on a grand scale because all of the leaders have been in on it. All of anyone who has been put into any form of power in any segments within the medical communities, the pharmaceutical communities, the news communities, the government communities, all of that, all have been by design to control the masses into what they wanted. and it goes beyond them. These are the puppets. These are the ones that are only doing what they're told as well, because they have been MK Ultred so very well, and some of them don't even have a clue who they are. I'm going to bring this up to you because this has been many, many people. So I've had some beautiful people within my chair in hypnosis that we do parts therapy on, because when MK Ultra or severe mind control is being used, they use severe trauma and then a savior. So severe opposites happening that are stretched, that stretch the mind so beyond repair that it fractals the mind. And this is where split personalities come in. And all of these leaders, people who have been put into forms of power, most of them have been MK Ultra'd or fractaled into many, many different personalities, and a lot of them will never even know the personalities that they're playing. Through parts therapy, and here are some of my clients who were part of sex rings that were severely put into some very awful places right from birth, most of them. That the one beautiful client that I had, that she had over 36 different personalities, and one of them, she even was a very good handler herself, because of the conditioning which most of them are put into to play all these realms. And whoever they needed, they were used a certain suggestive word, which we call post-hypnotic suggestion, PHS, which a certain word will turn them into the brand new personality, a certain time of day, a certain whatever that they are programmed into doing at that moment and being that type of personality, and they will have no recollection of it, none. This is many people who have split personality disorders or multiple disorders where the brain was fractured beyond what it can handle, so it compartmentalizes it. That is how super in consciousness that we are. And when you're able to access different parts of the brain where they can store many, many things and many, many programs without you even being awake consciously to it. And so when we have this amount of darkness that has been this underlying normal for a very, very long time, and as you are awakening to it, you're physically started awakening to it by what you were seeing continually on TV, and started seeing that everything that they're talking about and how long you've been in it for has started to make you realize you're over it and you don't care what they're saying anymore. And that's what needs to happen with a lot of the masses, because many times, as you can see, you yourself awakening in confusion, you know that you did not want to believe anything that your crazy friends or family members had to say. You didn't want to believe it whatsoever. You thought it was absolutely hokum, conspiracy theorists, which is absolutely the most hilarious term if you think on any level with a cognitive brain, on any level of discernment. A conspiracy theory which they created on purpose to try to stop people from asking questions. What happened with John F. Kennedy? And that is where conspiracy theory came out, because the moment people using discernment, using their heart, using their intuition, knew something wasn't adding up, and knew from all the different places certain things were at, so they created a term, psychological operation, to try to turn people against wanting to know the truth. And again, it is always, always, always sick people, psychopaths, sociopaths that can think to the degree of wanting to do harm, period. Any leader that has allowed any harm to happen, period, will have to pay for their actions, because we are beautiful beings of light. No one has the right to control anyone, to enslave anyone, to harm anyone in any way, shape, or form. And when you are centered in that place of love, love has zero respect for anything trying to cause no love, anything that is lack of. That's why when people will say, in a lot of the false communities that I call them, which are the false awakened communities, they're just on the other end of the bird, the other side of the religious side of the bird, which is all about trying to control the masses again and keeping you outside of yourself, still in search outside of yourself. And they've done this by design on purpose. No different than what people don't realize, the same political agendas were the exact same birds still feeding it to make you believe you had a choice, so that you would pick a choice that it was still theirs, that they made by design to get what they wanted. And it was just nothing but a magic trick. And so you are your power center, awakening confusion. There is no beginning place for you to go to in your awakening process. There is no handbook. There is no one truth other than love is everything. Everything else is an illusion. And it is all based around the frequencies of love. One infinite creation is love, plain and simple. Everything else becomes distorted if it becomes lowered and lowered and lowered within its frequencies. And that is what this plane that we have been on in this 3D plane, and that is why many of you are feeling it in your feeling centers within your heart, because the higher part aspects of you knew by design divinely right now, right here, right now, it was time. And whatever level that beautiful little bud is starting to bud of who you are, that slowly opens up to be that beautiful lotus petal wide open spinning like a wheel, is your personally your own, and it's in your own time divinely on purpose. You don't have to know a whole bunch of stuff right away. You don't have to do anything other than get back in. There was something inside of you, which is why you started in that awakening, when you started thinking or looking at things differently and a little more objectively. And that is the moment you brought it in your heart center. And the moment you get into your heart center and start feeling it, that is where that beautiful intelligence comes through, the true higher mind intelligence, because you use your cognitive, you use discernment, you use logic, you use intuition, you use all of those in order to come up with what feels, thinks, looks, appears in your senses right there and right now. It's going to look different to absolutely everyone, because you have your own individual perspective on everything. And that's what's so great here. There is no right, there is no wrong, there just is now. So to have more clarity, the more you take off the lies that have been programmed in you of what you're supposed to believe, and you start feeling it and seeing how that feels to you. That is why many, many people have walked away from any form of religion, because religion was man-made. The spiritual aspect, the God particle, the connection to source that you are, that's in every cell of your being, is the truth. Without you, you are no longer getting to be in this avatar, in this physical body that you are, and you're back to the orb presence of this beautiful energy that you are continually. You're infinite. You cannot be destroyed. That's one of the greatest truths that they do know, is love cannot be destroyed. It can be distorted, but it cannot be destroyed. No different than anything that is distorted cannot be destroyed, but it can be transmuted back into love. And that's what we're all here right now in this great awakening to get back to, is back to the basics of love. That is who we are. We naturally are that. We flow it easily when we allow it. But you've had blinders put on you and all these awful, awful indoctrinations that have held you captive in these broken mind traps and these indoctrinations that have kept you where you are. This is our hour. Our hour is up. I hope that all of you have taken what you want and leave the rest behind. I hope you feel more peace within you and grace, knowing that everything that you look at, that you see from your perspective is yours and yours alone. That you're allowed to think, feel, be exactly where you are right now because it's on purpose. And if it's not feeling good, it's only you that can change that with the next breath, the next feeling, and that beautiful observation that is you. I love you all so much. Again, please bring in every question that you have in, because I will only really go as deep as the questions that are being asked so that we do not overwhelm. I am honored to be able to offer you some kind of clarity to sit in, tangibility, whatever it is that you need to take and leave and go from there. But sitting in it is a great place to master yourself in. Please, if you again want some questions asked and you want to keep your anonymity, make sure that you have a name that you know when we're asking the question for you, know is yours, that'll be answered, to support@livingwholeonpurpose.com. Dreamer Divine, what would you like to say in your closing today?
So I say thank you again to everybody for joining us today. And just always remember to choose love and be love. It will never lead you wrong. Have an amazing rest of your day.
Thank you, beautiful. I love you all. I thank you and I honor you. See you next week.